Hey guys, I do have a problem and I want to fix that. The issue is you probably have multiple Bitaxes. I do have as well. As being one of the developers of it, it becomes quite a thing that you do have more of them because you want to test them, you want to test multiple ones, you want to compare them and so on. So what I want to do here is I want to create something that I can hang up on this wall here in order to have them all in one place instead of being scattered around all in my office here. As well as you see, I do have a big boy here. This is a S19 that I want to power outdoor with solar, but that's another video. But I do have this thing here, which is from my wifey. It was used to have a plant on top of it, and she does no longer like it. So my idea is to use it and hang it on the wall like this. But then you probably say, well, WantClue, there's an issue with that. The sides are not filled. Correct, I do have something for that. But you know what? Let's quickly play the intro. So what I did is I purchased myself this wood plank, and what I want to do is I want to cut it into the perfect size so that it fits into it. You say it's a little bit longer. I did this on purpose in order to make sure that I do have enough room to put it in there. But the idea is to cut it down a little bit and then junk it into it and hang it on the wall. And I need one cable that is running from an outlet to this place above here, because there's no outlet here. I need to wire a cable from somewhere in this room. But yeah, I want to make sure that this looks nice and that it is hanging like on top here like this. I'm also thinking about maybe adding some ventilation. I do have this hole here. I could put in some 120mm fans. I should be able to junk 4 of them into it. Then this should be a nice thing. And obviously with having my whiteboard here, I always use it. It's just a good idea. At least that's what I do hope. So you know what? Let's go outside and let's cut it to the right length, shall we? So the thing is, this is a little bit longer, and I measured the size of the plant holder or plant base or whatever to be exactly 1 meter. I don't know what this is in inches or in feet. I'll have this somewhere in this video here. But what we need to do now is to measure it and make sure that we do cut it to exactly or precisely 1 meter. I'll quickly do that, and then we'll make sure to try to fit it in, because I need to edge around the corners a little bit to make sure it snugly fits in there. So let's quickly measure it. Unfortunately, you do see I don't really have a workshop or anything else, but I mean, I don't need to. I have a small wall here, so I can just use this and measure it exactly here. So let's quickly do that. So now that we do have the line here, I want to use this side, so we will cut on this side. I'm not cutting directly on the line, I'm cutting to the right side of it to make sure that the end of the cut is not taking off anything from the usable space that I actually want to use. And afterwards we need to cut out small pieces on the edges to make sure it fits into the plant holder. I don't know how to call this. Anyway, so let's quickly do that. So one thing I need to do is, you do see that it's not cut perfectly. We can still see my drawing on here. So I'll use a tool like this to make it smooth and make sure that we do get to the target length of the board. So another thing that is actually really important is the powering of all the devices that I'm trying to put in there. And I kind of finished the design for my plant holder thingy there, and I made sure that it does fit perfectly into it. I did forget to record all the other steps that I did, but anyway, what I wanted to show you here is how I'm actually preparing the power supply and everything else that I do need in order to make sure that it works. And I need to mention here, I'm not a professional, I'm not an electrician or anything else, so take everything that I do here with a little bit of grain of salt. And the best thing is, don't try this at home if you don't know what you're doing. I mean, I myself don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm trying it anyway to show you what's possible. I mean, in the end, I'm living here in Europe, and we do have the power lines, everything is on the standard. You do know which cable goes where and what kind of color you need to use for what, so that's totally doable. But again, if you're not professional or if you don't know what you're doing, don't try this at home and don't actually reproduce what I'm doing here, because I'm totally new when it comes to this. The only thing that I'm trying to do here is to actually use my tools here and make sure that I do crimp some ends to my cables to make sure that they do fit into the power supply. And that's actually what I'm doing here. So I'm just crimping these cables. I do currently have the lifeline, the neutral line there, and I'm making sure that it does fit perfectly into the crimp end, and then everything else should be straightforward, because the power supply that I'm using is some no-name Chinese one that I got sent from a viewer that with no actual reason. He just sent it over to me. I don't know why, but anyway, so I do have this unit laying around for quite a while, and I wanted to use it, and that's the perfect use of it, because I do have multiple devices that I can power for 5 volts. So that's what we're doing here. So there I do have the lifeline in my hand, and that's the last thing that I need to do. I'm crimping that one, and afterwards I can actually screw in these crimp ends to the terminal of the power supply, and after that we can make sure that we do put in all the lines for the devices that need 5 volts, such as the NerdX, the Bitaxe, and what else comes there. So the ends looks kind of perfect. This right here is the no-name Chinese power supply that I do have. It's 5 volt and 40 amps, so in theory it should be able to power up to 200 watts. It does have quite a lot of coil noise, so I wouldn't recommend using that, but I'm trying it out anyway. So here I'm trying to actually screw in these terminals. You do see we have live with neutral and we have ground. First thing that goes in there is ground, and afterwards the other ones. It's basically a straightforward thing, but again, I can't say this often enough. If you don't know what you're doing there, don't try this at home, kids. That's electricity coming out of your outlet. It's literally dangerous. So I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you know what you're doing. And anyway, so yeah, here goes in the neutral line, and now we do have the lifeline. So after that, everything should be set with the power supply. So the next thing that we actually want to make sure to do is we want to make sure to check what the output voltage of this terminal is, because we need 5 volts, something between 5 and 5.5 volts. And in this example, I did got 5.4 volts, which is okay, because I do assume the more devices I do add to it, the more the voltage will drop. But actually later on, you'll figure out it didn't drop at all. Another really important aspect of this whole thing that I'm trying to do here is that I need specific cable lengths for all the devices, because I want to have them in a row. So what I'm trying to do here is I do have these 5.5 times 2.1 millimeter barrel jack males that I'm currently soldering, because obviously I need custom lengths, so therefore I need to solder it. I did mess around quite a bit with it, but after a while I got it working, and I need to say it worked out really well. And as always, flux is your best friend. So if you're soldering, use flux as much as you do can, because it is just perfect and it adds up to it so nicely. Okay, so this is the current design. I do have this 5-volt 40 amp power supply. Funny thing is, this one got sent to me from a viewer, like out of nowhere, which was kind of insane. And I received this like a year ago. I never had any really idea of how to use it. But now, as I do showed you this plant holder thingy, I have the Cyber 8S here. I'm not sure if I will leave it in there. But yeah, I have a Gamma here. I have a NerdX Gamma here. This is a normal NerdX Ultra. This is a Supra with the bit halo from GPIO. Awesome. And this right here is also a Gamma with, you see it, all nice new screen, a bigger one. If you want to make sure to know what this is about, make sure to like and subscribe so you stay tuned to an upcoming video on how to use this bigger screen. It also shows you the Wi-Fi RSI, so the strength of your Wi-Fi. But yeah, I did a little bit of cable management here. Let's see. I need to clean this up here, but it's looking good. It's looking good. It's getting better. And yeah, let's see. Alrighty guys, this is probably a weird cut, but don't mind me. I finished it finally. It was quite a tremendous amount of work, especially I don't have proper tools. I just use what I do have, which is totally fine, and I do encourage everybody of you who wants to do some stuff, just do it yourself. Don't actually buy stuff. So that's what I did. I got this plank of wood, which probably cost me like 10 bucks in the hardware store, because this was some leftover stuff. I just cut it, the corners that I made into it, to make sure it snuggles nice and tight into this frame. They are ugly as hell, but you don't actually see that, so that's totally fine. What I want to do now is I want to populate it with all these devices that I do have laying around here. Maybe I put in my hex. I do have a hex laying around here as well. In there, I don't know, let's see. Especially all of them combined do draw quite a impressive amount of power. So I'm not sure if I will run this 24/7. So yeah, what I did in the end is I do have here small wood beams, mini beams, something like that, and I just drilled them into the hole, and I made sure that I do have like a 90-degree angle in them so that this frame can stick into it, and now it sits really tight on the wall. So I do have a couple of devices here that I want to make sure that I do populate them. I have a Supra here with me with a this is the, let's see, the bit halo from Duncan GPIO. If you want to get something like this, you can make sure to check the link in the video description down below. There is an affiliate link, and with that you do help this channel out. So let's plug this one in here, as well as, let's see, it's plugged in also. I do have a Bitaxe Gamma here, which is made in Germany. If you want to get one of them, it's on the website solarmining.de. They do produce in Germany. But guys, feel free to look around and make sure you do get the cheapest price available to you, or whatever you prefer. On this is an SSD 1309 display, which is bigger and offers a little bit more readability. I do want to plug this in as well. Here we go, it's plugged in, so this goes in the corner. And the cool thing with this array of all these miners is I can make sure that I have all of them running and testing my firmware on them, because I do have a couple of scripts to just upload my firmware that I wrote, and then I can make sure all of them get this update, and you know, fast forward, I can check and make sure that updates are good. I do have a Bitaxe, no, that's a NerdX Gamma, so it's the Liligo T Display S3 screen and a Bitaxe basically. So this goes in right here. Here we go. And then last but not least, I have another Gamma. This is a 600 model, probably not sold to anybody of you because this was a prototype version. And let's see, let's plug this in as well. Alrighty, so now I do have these 4 devices here, and what we want to make sure is we want to hook them up. I do have the power cord here. I hooked up this 5-volt 40 amp power supply that I explained earlier that I got just from a view of this channel, which is amazing. I do notice it has quite a tremendous amount of coil winding. I don't like that. Probably I'll throw that away and just get myself a proper one from Meanwell, because these no-name ones, I don't know, they tend to be weird from time to time and I don't want to burn down my house. So just for some safeguard, I'll probably switch over to a Meanwell power supply. But anyway, now let's plug it in and let's see what's going on here. And hopefully nothing burns down. Would you see all of them are starting up? Perfect. So the bit halo, you do see there's this initial ring coming on. It's awesome. It's just like it's lighting all the time. This is so perfect. And the yellow one, this is because it found a share. And it does do this lighting effect every time it finds a share or sends over a share which gets submitted to the pool. You do notice previously I had here the pictures, now I moved them over to this side. I do think that's okay, and especially for this YouTube corner that I do have here, it's totally fine. I'm not sure if you can hear this whining, but it's so annoying. Probably because I do draw, let's see, 20, 40, 60, 80 watts. It's a 40 amp power supply, so we're not even sitting at 50% capability. The Cyber 8S that I do have here from Tiny Chip Hub, which is hardware-wise not open source. I'm not sure if I will run this on here. I don't know. Probably I put on the hacks on here and just power this on. I don't know. But for now, this is awesome. It's working. I'm hashing with all these devices, and I do think this just looks nice. The only thing that I need to make sure, and this will maybe be another video, is I need to put in a little bit more RGB, because you know RGB improves your hash rate. So with that, I thank everybody for tuning in and see you on the next one.